for all that is so very wrong in Deep Sloot, Johannesburg, and there's a lot.
Up on your feet.
There is much that's just right.
That's lovely, guys. Oh, brilliant.
Much for which Nelson Mandela deserves a thank you.
Let's go, slowly. Engage!
And South Africans don't have to be old enough to remember, to be old enough to know exactly what he did for them.
My dad said in Mandela was a good people and was a freedom fighter.
Nelson Mandela was a very good person because he fought for the black people and he was able to make peace with those olden days in apartheid.
There was no peace back then, but now there's peace between black and white people.
Do you see that on the rugby field too?
Yeah. Yes.
You made peace that everybody can play rugby, no matter how small or how big. You have the right to play rugby in every single world.
So he did that?
Yeah, for everybody.
The right to play rugby. For these kids to be immersed in the joy of the game is another of Mandela's great gifts to his nation, and an unlikely one. Victory born of a moment in 1995 that the Deep Sloot coaches keep explaining to the kids was nothing short of magic.
It was such a huge day. There's no other words to describe it. It's just everything came together on that day, and Nelson Mandela basically knew that that was one day that could make a difference, and boy, it did.
It was the start of big things. I still get goosebumps even till today when I think about the sequence of how things happened. It was amazing. It was an amazing feeling.
To feel their victory, you have to feel their battle with apartheid, even in sports. Then, rugby was really only played by whites before mandated whites-only crowds. Black South Africans who did watch cheered any team other than South Africa's Springboks, the team of the oppressor. By the time apartheid ended, President Mandela had inherited a nation still divided. He needed to find a way for them to connect emotionally. Curiously, he took a chance on sports. On the 1995 Rugby World Cup to be played right here at Ellis Park Stadium.
It's awesome walking down here. Imagine the stadium full of people. It was a very emotional ride for us, and people didn't realize their emotional thing.
True enough, people saw only the physical, and Hannah Strydom then was all muscle and fresh scars, number 5 on the Springbok team. Focusing on getting to the finals of the World Cup was hard enough, but there was a little extra pressure. A visitor literally dropping into practice one day, a man who would come to be a frequent fan, President Nelson Mandela. He knew their names, their positions, not bad for someone who knew next to nothing about rugby.
His way of talking, his way of looking you in the eyes, speaking to you, saying to you, well done, good luck. I rely on you people to pull it through for us, and I cheer for you and all those type of things. It made a big difference.
It did, but Mandela wasn't just worried about the players. He'd soon turn his charm offensive on the fans, desperate for a country still raw and suspicious to have something to unite around. Hardly easy.
Black South Africa didn't really know much about rugby. Many knew only that the team colors, green and gold, and the team name, the Springboks, were relics of the apartheid era. Many simply wanted the colors and the name gone and expected Mandela to agree with them. But he didn't. Far from it. In fact, Nelson Mandela stood by the green and gold of the Springboks and set about trying to get the entire country to do the same.
You see this cup? This cup does honor to our boys who are playing France tomorrow. I ask you all to stand up behind them tomorrow, because they are our pride. They are your pride.
The idea so offended Those who adored Mandela dared to boo him. He didn't blink. He upped his support. The Springboks upped their game, beating powerhouses, even Australia, pushing their way through the tournament all the way to the final. To an Ellis Park Stadium packed not just with white fans. Those who couldn't watch in person crowded around TVs. Even the townships were gripped. Until Mandela's encouragement, people there had every reason to dismiss the Springboks. Coach Terizo Shiahu knew nothing about them then.
I was at home. I was at home watching with my parents. You know, it was the first time. My dad was a soccer fan, and it was the first time he sat down with me to watch rugby, and it was quite amazing. You know, that this guy who's been exposed to soccer all his life, all of a sudden is taking his son to watch rugby.
Did your dad know the rules?
No, we didn't know the rules. When people started clapping, we clapped, you know, and that was it.
And all who tuned in saw something odd almost right away. This South African Airways jet way off course, heading low and fast, straight for the stadium. Warming up in the dressing room, Hannah Strydom and the other players stopped.
We just heard the roar coming. We wondered what is happening, and our bomb scare, because we didn't know what was happening.
Starting to sound like a movie plot? Well, it is. A true story so good Hollywood couldn't resist. Called the film Invictus. And it gets the angst of this moment absolutely right. With a country that had been on the brink of civil war, easy to think something horrible was about to happen. Then all saw what was written on the underside. Good luck, box. Not a threat, just joy. Just a sign the whole country did care about this moment. The crowd primed, the players moved onto the field through a sea of the new South African flags. Followed moments later by this. Mandela in the jersey of the Springboks captain, connecting with the team. There's Hannah Strydom, by the way. As public a display of togetherness as you could get then. Coach Trevor Vandenberg is still giddy about that moment.
Do you think Mandela won some fans that day?
Absolutely. I mean, in that stadium, you had really die-hard Afrikaans guys, you know, standing up and screaming like their lungs out when Madiba, you know, stood out there with his number 6 Francois Pienaar jersey, Springbok rugby jersey on. That stadium just came down. That stadium just went ballistic. It was huge.
It was just beginning. Ahead, still a brutal match for the title. New Zealand, known as a stronger team. For a while, it did not look good. Many braced for yet another disappointment.
It's the crucial scrum.
But then a window, and it all started to work.
Back it comes to Strensky. Up goes the kick.
One glorious drop kick and victory.
South Africa have won the World Cup.
The new South Africa had a new reason to be as one. A moment that magnified, spilled onto the streets, even the townships. This is what Mandela wanted to see. More, he wanted it to last, wanted that victory party to be the start of better, forgiving times.
How long did that feeling last?
But still lasted.
It still lasts.
Yeah.
So what he did in that moment, 95,
It's still lasting. It's still left a lasting impression on all of us. It's something you can't erase. It was so unique. It was so fantastic to be done. It's still in our minds. It's still in our hearts.
Stadium, which was
Clearly, still in Coach Chorizo Shiahu's heart.
you know what? Actually, I still get goosebumps even till today when I think about that plane. I think about that drop goal. You know, just the sequence of how things happened. It was amazing. It was an amazing feeling.
And so must this be. Kids too young to really understand Nelson Mandela's sacrifice a long time ago. Mercifully, what he endured is so distant from what they know and what they play. For them, now rugby's just a game. Anyone's game. And Nelson Mandela did this. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Johannesburg, South Africa.